Mr. Speaker, yesterday we learned that the government was prepared to legalize marijuana before Bill C-46 on impaired driving is adopted. And that despite the advice of experts, doctors, provinces, police officers. The Prime Minister is endangering public safety in Canada. My question for the Prime Minister is simple. Can he reassure Canadians that he will not give the go-ahead to legalizing marijuana until all police officers in Canada are equipped and trained to deal with drug-impaired driving? The Honourable Minister. Yesterday, the member for Provencher said that the right for a woman to choose is not a right.
The member from Provencher stated that a woman's right to choose is not a right. The Supreme Court upheld this right more than 30 years ago today. These comments serve to take women's rights backwards. Will the Leader of the Opposition please denounce the comments from his caucus and clearly voice his support right now for a woman's right to choose?
Will the Leader of the Opposition denounce the comments of his caucus and support a woman's right to choose? The Honourable Member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The comments were made outside of this House, and I'll come back to this question period. Following legalization, deadly accidents caused by drivers who used marijuana doubled in Washington, tripled in Colorado. That is a very serious issue that we need to consider here in this House, Mr. Speaker. We're talking about human lives. Can the Prime Minister give his word that legalization will not proceed until all police officers in Canada are equipped and trained to deal with this plague? The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Disappointing that the party opposite still believes that women's rights are not human rights. Yesterday, this belief was on full display when the member from Provencher claimed that the women's right to choose is not a right. Will the member opposite please stand up for women everywhere and make it clear that women's right to choose is clearly a right?
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the facts are clear. Following legalization of marijuana, deadly accidents. Well, here, in fact, is what was contained in the report by the Police Association of Police Chiefs. Drug-impaired driving is a top concern for police in Canada. The problem already exists and will become even worse with legalization. So for the third time, I will repeat my question, and I hope that the Prime Minister will have the courage to stand up and answer. Will he ensure that all police officers in Canada will be equipped and trained to counter The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The previous government's approach to cannabis didn't work. It enabled criminals to move ahead. We respect the work done by the Senate, and we are eager to consider the report that will come from them. The government will continue to collaborate with its partners to ensure that the transition will take place.
Norfolk.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Liberals said that they would legalize marijuana without having drug-impaired driving laws in effect. So, Mr. Speaker, with the inability for a roadside test for cannabis use, can the Minister please inform this House just how this Liberal government intends to keep Canadians safe on our roads?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the problem of drug-impaired driving exists today. It's not a problem that will spring to life next week or next month or next year. It exists today. That's why it is so very important to pass Bill C-46. I'm glad to hear the official opposition is now fully in support of Bill C-46, and I hope they will join us in encouraging the Senate to deal with it expeditiously.
Honourable Member for Haldeman from Norfolk.
Well, Mr. Speaker, obviously there's no plan, but really that's no surprise. And while the Liberals have made it clear that they want to have pot legalized by the summer, the Minister for Justice has always said that when marijuana is legalized, there would be laws to protect Canadians on the roads. That's why they're bringing in new ones. So why won't the minister delay the legalization of pot until these protections are in place?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the criminal code already has provisions to deal with drug-impaired driving. Those provisions have been in the law for many years. What we are trying to do is to enhance and strengthen those provisions with what we're adding in Bill C-46. New offences, new technology, and new procedures to add to what is already in the criminal code. So again, I thank the opposition for officially endorsing Bill C-46, and we're anxious for them to join with us in encouraging the Senate to pass it promptly.
La députée de Berthier-Masquet.